So then what does all this practically mean for our daily lives, that God is my shepherd or that Jesus lives in me? Well, David in this Psalm 23, he defines this phrase, I shall not want, 3 different ways as it relates to life. As he asks the question and answers, what's the outcome of God being his shepherd and directing his life? First, as we've already stated, he says the expectation is, I shall not want. Future. I shall not lack anything essential. And it seems like that's something Jesus said, didn't it? In the first major message, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness and all these other things, these things that we focus on and worry about. He said, they'll be added to you. You're not going to lack a meal because you follow me. You're not going to lack clothes because you made me your treasure. You'll have everything you need for life. They'll all be added to you. He's saying the same thing. So in this psalm, David focuses on 3 aspects of our lives. He says, this is what it means, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. First of all, he says, God's provision gives me contentment. God's provision gives me contentment. Now, as we look at these verses, let's remember that the book of Psalms are poetic literature. I say that because it's not a personal journal or a daily diary of his life. Like, this is all that ever happened. Like, well, where's all the other stuff that happened? You can read that. No, this is a poetic picture of how he felt he experienced his life. This is what he says. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. What an incredible picture David paints of his life. Notice, first of all, it's a life of satisfying refreshment. It's a life of satisfying refreshment. He says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. Now let me ask you a question, and if you've never been around livestock, this may be insight for you. What kind of sheep lies down in a green, lush pasture? Answer, one that has eaten its fill. A sheep not eating in a green pasture is one that's full. It's one that's lying down and it's content. He leads me beside quiet waters. The same thing is true here. Sheep that are walking by quiet waters and not drinking is a sheep that's not thirsty. And so consider the life contrast David is painting in this desert scene that he lives in, with very few green pastures and even fewer as the dry season came into that world, and even fewer oases or springs of water to drink from. He says, God is providing for me.